More detail on the casualties here, Carl, as well, including potential casualties to U.S. troops. A lot of this detail still coming in, so very early on, and just a caution that initially some of these reports can be a little confusing. But what we're getting right now from Reuters is a U.S. official saying that at least one of the U.S. troops who was injured in that explosion in Kabul was wounded seriously. That's citing initial information, so a caution on that in terms of the extent of this U.S. service person's injuries. But the unfortunate news coming in now from Reuters that this one U.S. service person was wounded seriously. No total yet on Afghan injuries or deaths here in Kabul, just outside the airport. But we did see that explosion about an hour or so ago now in Kabul, and that complicates matters dramatically for U.S. forces trying to maintain the evacuation pace and meet that August 31st deadline that the president has imposed of bringing all U.S. forces out of Afghanistan, at the same time trying to bring as many Afghan refugees and allies as possible and as many U.S. citizens as possible. Not entirely clear right now, Carl, how many U.S. citizens remain in Afghanistan who want to get out, but surely the number is greater than zero, and that adds to the complexity for U.S. forces trying to secure that airport and now dealing with a potential bomber out there who might have more to come. Carl, back over to you.
Indeed. And Eamon, we should also point out, well, two things. The White House was scheduled to have a COVID briefing this morning, which has understandably been postponed. And then we mentioned Macron. He says there are 20 buses with French citizens and others that they've been looking to evacuate. But the confusion and obviously the events of the morning at the airport means they cannot guarantee they'll be successful in evacuating those. So it is not uniformly a U.S. picture, these very important evacuations.
It's a very chaotic situation with multiple nations of allies, multiple forces inside Afghanistan. Remember, you've got ISIS-K there, which is the offshoot of ISIS, as well as the Taliban. Those two groups are enemies of each other as well as enemies of the United States, all vying for control in a very limited space here. And we know from reporting in the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere that U.S. intelligence officials have been engaged in getting Americans out of Kabul by trying to get around this perimeter area, which is so dangerous, where all those people are coming together against the wall and presenting a target for bombers as well as a threat to the U.S. Marines there on the wall. The idea here is that they're using helicopters to go over the wall into downtown Kabul or locations nearby and collect Americans and others who they're trying to evacuate from the locations where they've been holed up and bring them back to the airport by helicopters. So trying to get out of that sort of bottleneck area, which presents a real target for any kind of hostile force that wants to do IED or suicide bomb attacks. So that's been going on as well as they try to evac all of these people in what is a massive airlift operation in the middle of a deteriorating security situation. A very scary and tense moment here in Afghanistan for the remaining U.S. forces as they try to meet that August 31st deadline, Carl.